There we go. It's live.
Beautiful. How you doing, Jarrett?
I'm great. How are you, James?
Living life, man. Everything's awesome.
Yeah, except for this SGI thing you're dealing with.
Yeah, that's never ending. There's always something, man. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Might get a new car out of it, so who knows?
Oh, what happened to your car? Like, did somebody hit it or?
Yeah, it was a hit and run. They smoked the back of my vehicle just outside of my house. So I'm guessing they blew the four-way stop and did enough damage to write it off. So I'm kind of like compiling all my receipts for the last 2 years on the vehicle and any new parts, etc., to make sure that I get, you know, what I'm supposed to get. That's why we have insurance, right? So,
Yeah, for sure. Well, hope that goes well for you, and you
oh
get
yeah,
what
it's
you.
extra pain in the ass at the end of the year. But
Yeah,
we'll see what happens, man.
hit and runs, man. Hit and runs.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I thought this would be a good podcast to do with you because uh, I knew you when I was like selling cars, like before I was even doing any of this. I think I met you like 3 years ago in BNI, and I was just doing like some car sales. And I know you and I have made
yeah,
pretty massive strides as far as like life goes. So pretty cool to like reflect on our growth and like where we were then and where we are now.
totally, man. I think it's almost 4 years, believe it or not. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you
It
were
was
you
during
were
like
still
COVID or
hustling
something.
cars. Yeah,
Yeah,
4
yeah,
years, two kids, a couple of businesses, a couple of moves, I think, on your part, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But yeah, it's been crazy, dude, for both of us. All positive too.
yeah, for sure. Obviously, like we all ride the emotional roller coaster that is life, but yeah, you should tell the people listening about sort of like your origin story. Like I know you came here from BC, used to be a chef. So why don't you give people like a more elaborate origin story of, I guess, how you ended up here and where you came from and how you got into real estate?
Yeah, we're going way back then. Yeah, let's just go back to. So I started my real estate career in BC with Sutton Seafair Realty back in 2012. I want to say January of 2012 was when I think I started my license. Um, had a rough start out there, a little more competition, that kind of thing, and the wrong expectations probably getting into the real estate market. Ended up being very lucky meeting up with a mentor, a seasoned agent. Paid attention, cut my teeth, learned what I was supposed to learn, and learned a lot actually from that agent, and to build my career up out there. And in the process of doing that, met a lovely girl who had come out to BC to finish her degree at UBC. Yada yada yada. We ended up getting married and had a few life choices to make, kind of where we wanted to pursue the
Plant
rest of
roots.
our life, and where we wanted to eventually have and raise kids. And she was originally from Saskatchewan, and we took a long look at it, and just, yeah, quality of life, cost of living, everything that everybody's looking at right now. I like to think we were a bit ahead of the curve. We made our way to Saskatoon in 2019, and that's when I transferred my license, got on with Remax Bridge City here, with the awesome owners at the time, Brent and Jackie Hawes. And originally, you started putting the bug in their ear that if they ever wanted to sell, I'd be hugely interested, because that's kind of where I wanted to take my career as well, is developing agents and the broker owner role. And lo and behold, let's see, we went through a pandemic. We had a couple of kids, some other family events, and then the opportunity to take over the brokerage came up, and I jumped at it. I figured my life wasn't quite busy enough at the time with a couple of toddlers and rebuilding a career, but why not? And so far, it's been fantastic. I think the role's been good for me. And, you're always learning, you're always developing, you're always trying to find a new way to improve and engage with your agents as well as clients. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the adventure for the next couple decades, and hopefully one day
Yeah,
retire. Who knows, right? So yeah, it's been fun. It's been a crazy couple of years. But I love Saskatchewan. I love what it has to offer, the quality of life, the blue skies. Yes, it gets cold here. People that don't live here, yes, it gets cold. But like I keep saying, people actually do stuff in the cold here. They don't just hunker down and ride it out, I guess you could say. They actually go out and do things in the wintertime here. It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I honestly wouldn't know because I've never even been to BC. Like, never even stepped foot there in my life. But we'll go back into like the Saskatchewan part of this. But I do want to ask you some more about BC. You like the first sentence you said was something along the lines of you didn't have proper expectations going into real estate, and it was like super competitive out there. So like, would you say it's a lot more competitive out there compared to out here in Saskatchewan as far as being a real estate agent goes? And what were you expecting going into it at the start?
Like anybody else in their like 20s, you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and thinking you're gonna make $1 million off your first sale or whatever, right? Just I just don't think I saw the sheer expectations of the work that goes into each transaction and building a successful real estate business. Um, because it is a business, you are an independent contractor. Your brokerage likely, well, they're not going to be feeding you enough leads to maintain your career. You actually have to go out there and you eat what you kill. Similar to the car industry, it's a competitive market. And what I meant by like BC being a more competitive market, it's just sheer numbers. I mean, there are, well, at the time, I mean, I think there was 17,000 agents in BC alone, which with the majority of them being in the lower mainland, like the actual Vancouver and surrounding area. So, you divide that by the population, the average number of people moving per year. Yeah, it's definitely more competitive. It's just a different kind of market in general. Whereas, you come out to Saskatchewan, you'll find people that'll service all of Saskatoon. Whereas, again, I'm aware of the population numbers and difference, but you go to Vancouver and you would have agents that would just have to service, say, like 4 city blocks because there'd be enough density there for them to sustain a successful career. And then just the difference in dollar value and commissions per transaction. I mean, I don't know to explain that to everybody, but it just makes sense. But there was a lot more agents in a concentrated area that you'd be competing against. Just a different dynamic in the diversity of the population as well. It was just different. I mean, but regardless, doesn't matter where you want to become a realtor, it's going to be competitive. You're going to be going up against seasoned agents, aggressive agents, some shady agents. It happens everywhere in every industry, but it's going to happen. So obviously, if you're thinking of going into the real estate as a career, do your due diligence like you would anything else. Go meet with a couple of different brokers, a couple of different agencies, speak to a variety of different agents, new agents, seasoned agents, and really get an idea of what you'd be getting yourself into. It's a phenomenal career. You can make anything you want out of it. There's a lot of different avenues through real estate that you could pursue as well. It's not just single transactions in residential. There's a whole world of property management, farm, land development, commercial, strictly leasing. It's an infinite number of possibilities for you to build your career in real estate. So highly recommend it. And no 2 days are the same. I can tell you that much. So if you're anything like me, no 2 days are the same. That's awesome. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, one day you're selling real estate, the next day your car gets hit and run, and you're doing a podcast with an old buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think one thing too is you said you met Paige out there too. Like, how did you meet her? Did you meet her just like through a couple friends, or were you a chef at the time when you met her?
No, that career was way before. That was my early 20s. I'd actually met my wife. She was a new employee at a gym that I was working at. So I was managing a sales team. So directly before real estate, I was managing a sales team at a gym and doing some personal training on the side. And yeah, my wife was hired on as a personal trainer there. And we met there, and lo and behold, here we are. I think it's like 15 years ago. And now we're in Saskatchewan, 2 beautiful daughters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite a change. Quite a change.
Yeah. We'll cut out the part where you said I think, just in case she watches this later on. You know what I mean?
She knows I have no idea. All you got to remember the wedding anniversaries, yeah, and how you met.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, like I honestly forgot about the personal training stuff, but the chef stuff really sticks out in my mind just because you got me a cutting board for Christmas either last year or the year before. But
Holy cow! Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah.
yeah, I still have it.
Oh, I'd hope so. Yeah.
It was a thick cutting board you got me. Yeah.
That's a proper one, man. No, I don't mess around. Yeah, that was my original passion out of high school, and after doing a bit of traveling, I did go through culinary school just to fill in the blanks there. I did go through culinary school, enjoyed it. It was a very taxing career. Worked in some great restaurants, built it up, but just at the end of the day, it wasn't truly a passion. I think I kind of burnt myself out, and then that's how I kind of shifted and went into the health and wellness sector for a bit. Just get myself healthy and up and running. And yeah, lo and behold, it's where I met my now wife. So that worked out really well, if you ask me.
Yeah. Have you ever used your chef skills to like win over a client, like cook them up like a really nice meal?
No, that's never crossed paths. Be hilarious. But yeah, no, definitely not. I try and stay focused on what I'm actually doing, and that's buying them or selling them a home. So, or selling their home, I should say.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you could say part of that though is like showing them how the kitchen works. But anyway, speaking of like health and wellness, I noticed on your Instagram stories that you've been doing like 75 hard, and I know you've done it at least twice,
Yep.
maybe even more times. But like, yeah, do you want to share kind of like your thoughts and like the benefits of doing that? Because I did it too.
Yeah, no, I've done 75 hard twice, and I intend to do it again starting next year. I'm going to actually attempt the entire program, so the year-long program with that one.
Live hard.
The whole Live Hard program, yeah. So follow up with the phase 1, 2, and 3. I mean, take this however you want. I'd pick whatever program you want. Honestly, my preference has always been the 75 hard one. I like how it incorporates the reading aspect, the hydration aspect, the diet aspect, and everything else, the isolated outdoor workouts. Why do I do it? Like anybody else, it's easy to get off course throughout the year. You resort back to your natural bad habits, whatever they may be. And I just, you get foggy, you get slowed down, and you just get out of routine. And I really noticed that, I guess, the year or so before we moved out here, which is why I did 75 hard the first year I was here, and just saw the benefits of it. And it gives you something to focus on, I find. So then you don't have time to be bored or self-destructive or whatever your situation may be, right? And self-destruction comes in a lot of different forms, but it just keeps you away from the doom scrolling on your phone or avoiding the responsibilities that you have. So for me, having some sort of even just a structure in the day helps me win the day, and then the week, then the month, then the year, and so on and so forth. So I find that by committing to something like that, it just keeps me driven, keeps my mind clear. I guess what I could say with the 75 hard thing, what I found surprising the first time, and then again the second, was the aspect of it that I liked the most was actually the outdoor activity for 45 minutes, because it isolates you. I would always do it alone. I'd go for like long walks in the dark and minus 20 or 30 or whatever it would be during the winter time when I generally start it. But it just brings a lot of clarity, a little bit of meditation thrown in there. But I just found it very rewarding. It's because I quite often, I think a lot of us are like this. We don't have enough quiet time. You think you're doing something quiet and you think you're alone with your thoughts, but you're actually just farting around on something, or there's a TV on in the background. You're not actually just sitting in quiet. And that's where the isolated walks really came in handy, and it just brought a lot of peace to the mind. And I encourage that. If you're going to take anything away from that, I think that'd be one of them. It's just going for a solo, quiet walk, being alone with your thoughts. It might scare you. Honestly, it might scare you. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's totally worth it.
Anything good in life can be scary, but what did you struggle with the most with it? Like for me, it was like the diet aspect of it because anyone who knows me knows that I love junk food. I may not
Yeah.
look like I love junk food, but I remember on I think it was like day 60 or something when I was doing it. I had a dream about eating salt and vinegar chips, and I woke up from the dream. You know, like when you wake up and you're still in that groggy state, and I was
Totally.
like, I actually thought that I failed the challenge, like that for like the first 15 minutes that I was awake. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. Like you have those vivid dreams, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was definitely a fan. Prior to doing it the first time, my crutch would be Nutella. And if anybody I know that used to live with me or anything watches this, they'll just be laughing. I friggin' love that stuff. Like hazelnut chocolate spread, Jesus. Yeah, and it's like 95% sugar. It's just, it's like an IV of sugar to your veins. Used to love that stuff. And then yeah, actually, since I did it the first time, I cut it out. I haven't had any Nutella since then, which is kind of like shocking. Um, but yeah, I was the pre-bed giant bowl of cereal, still kind of am. Uh, you don't think you consume that much sugar, but holy shit, man, when you put it on a scale, like, and I mean, like actually weighing out like what a portion size is for a normal human versus the half box that most of us eat before. Um, yeah, it's quite shocking. So yeah, sugar was definitely one of my vices. Again, similar to you, like I might not look it, but when you actually see how much you consume, it's crazy. Um, the diet was not outrageous. I mean, being married to a nutritionist, we keep our house pretty clean, but definitely uh, the impulses to purchase crap and eat it, they're hard. So as long as you don't buy it, bring it into your house, that's it's done. Um, but yeah, sticking to I guess I think I was doing a whole foods diet or a keto-esque diet at the time, the first time around. It is challenging because yeah, you naturally react to like, oh, I'm going to make a sandwich with this bread, or I'm going to have this, that, or the other. Everything's got grains in it to some extent. Um, but then filling that spaces with more meat or more eggs or more, whole foods, the first few weeks it's weird. I think the hardest for most people, and I've read this a few times, the hardest for most people with that is usually around the 1 month mark where you kind of get off the high of like, hey, I'm doing this. And it's like, holy crap, I've got to stick with this for a while. you know,
Yeah.
that's a challenging part right there. But planning out your meals becomes a major thing to prevent
Yeah.
those impulse things. And I can see you nodding right now. So yeah, that's a big one. So sticking with that, and then just understanding, and I still don't do this enough. I'm kind of rolling my eyes at myself, but really seeing like how far you've come and how it's impacted the rest of your life and your business and everything else, like the clarity that you get from it and all that, as opposed to just sitting there and being like, oh man, I could really go for a freaking Nutella sandwich or something right now, right? Like try and focus on the positives. And again, it's going to be scary and it's going to be hard, but try and document it as best you can.
Yeah. I think if I had a dollar for every time you said Nutella in that answer, I'd have.
Oh, I love it, dude. I'm thinking
Yeah.
about it right now.
Yeah, Nutella's fire, dude.
I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess moving on to more like career stuff. Uh, other than like the phone call we had last week, it was like a while since I actually like talked to you. So like, what's kind of new in your business? Like, I think I see you mostly advertising like yourself as a commercial agent, but like, do you even still do residential, or how does that work on your side of things?
Right now, I'm just primarily focusing on the broker role and building up my agents. I do have the odd residential listing. Um, if I were to do anything going into the future, I like the idea of commercial, but primarily it's the broker role and supporting the agents. Um, as I mentioned, obviously coming out here in 2019 and having to rebuild my entire database and career as an agent, knowing nobody. As you'd imagine, there's going to be some runoff from that. So I can't immediately turn off all of the work and all the leads that I generated during that time. So that is why I'm still sitting on a couple of listings. And I will obviously, as you'd imagine, work with friends and family and loyal clients. But outside of that, my primary focus and role right now is on the brokerage, being the broker owner, building up the brokerage and supporting the agents, primarily supporting the agents.
Right. Yeah. So as a broker, like what do you do as far as things that you do and tools that you give your agents to help them succeed and help them be better?
As it says there, I am a Remax broker owner. So both Remax and the brokerage, we provide extensive training through Remax University, an assortment of different lead sources, coaching programs. And yeah, that's kind of hard to jam all into a 5-minute slot here. But yeah, it's really providing the tools for the agents to better their careers. And depending on which direction they choose to go on with their careers, we do have an abundance of resources to guide them, promote them, build them up, depending on what they want to do. And when I say depending on what they do, like, do they want to stay as a solo agent in residential? Do they want to go commercial, property management? Do they want to develop a team? Do they want to promote themselves on social media? Do they want to go different avenues? Do they require a coach? Do they not require a coach? Do they want their hands held? Do they not want their hands held? I mean, like anything else, when you're an independent contractor, you're going to kind of design your career and how you see yourself. And we are the ones standing behind them, supporting them, and helping guide them through whichever choices they make. So we've got something for everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, depending on their goals, you can pretty much give them the roadmap and reverse engineer everything they need to do in order to get to that next step, right?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Do you find that focusing more on that career stuff gets easier or more difficult having 2 kids now? Because how old are they again? I know the one you had last year and the other one, she's
1.5 and 3.5.
1.5 and 3.5. Yeah. So does that tie up a lot of your time?
I wouldn't say ties up my time. I never thought I'd enjoy being a father this much. They're both awesome little girls. So yeah, any of my time outside of the brokerage is generally spent with them. It's a different kind of motivating factor. I guess you could say it's no longer like I'm doing this for me. It's definitely doing this for us. And again, that's part of the reason I wanted to go into the brokerage side of things. I want to build something up that, if they so choose, it could be handed off to them. If not, it's still going to be it'll provide a phenomenal lifestyle. Yeah. Yeah. And it does give me the freedom to, like, I'm not fixed to a space or a desk, similar to the real estate world, right? You're not fixed anywhere, which is what attracts a lot of people to the industry. I still have the freedom to live the life that I want and hang out with my girls. It's awesome.
Yeah, you can pick them up from school. You can chef them up a nice meal.
I won't lie, my wife does like 99% of the cooking right now. So, and she's phenomenal as well. She's the one keeping us all alive.
Oh, well, that's probably like a realtor hack right there, is just getting your wife to be like a great support system, right? Like, what would you say about that?
Oh yeah, you need a good. It helps having a good partner in this industry. My wife is also self-employed in the health and wellness space. So yeah, we both have that flexibility-ish with our time. Obviously, it revolves around other people, but it does provide that flexibility. But yeah, we both support each other 100%, as most couples do. But yeah, neither of us really react or think it's rude to randomly grab a phone call at ungodly hours, because we both kind of run off of that platform. Well, where we're on call, I guess you could say, all the time. So yeah, choosing your partners wisely makes a difference without question.
Yeah. And yeah, actually that's an interesting topic of conversation too, which is like being on call all the time. Like I hear agents talk about that all the time. Like the phone might ring at 5:45 in the morning or like 9:15 p.m. at night, or maybe even like 1 in the morning. Like how do you set boundaries and clients and set expectations properly to uh, set yourself up and themselves for like a good working relationship that's good for everybody?
That is an excellent question. Again, it comes down to the individual. I know a lot of, it's not really more residential or more commercial. I know that I've got quite a few commercial agents that, yeah, their phones will go off at any point in the day. I've got other agents, residential ones, and I saw this a lot more in BC, where you might have clients that would be overseas, so different time zones, that may not be aware of when they're calling you. So that's when you get the 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning phone calls. It's having that conversation up front with your client, or anybody, honestly, with what your boundaries may be. And then the urgency at which, how you'll respond to them. I've got one agent here that lives by, he'll respond to any phone call within 30 minutes. Doesn't matter when it is. That's his business. That's his plan. That's how he succeeds. And that's what he lives by. I've got other agents that, like any other industry, you have agents that just go missing for weeks on end.
Yeah.
And that's how they run their business. So I think when you establish, reasonable boundaries and communicate them effectively with your clients, they will abide by those boundaries, and it's the same for them. I mean, if you're speaking to homeowners and like they flat out say like, "Hey, I'm in bed every day at 8:30 because I'm up for my career at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m." Then it's probably best if you don't call them at 9:30 p.m. because they're not going to answer, right? So have those conversations with your clients up front so that you best know how to communicate with them and they'll best know how to communicate with you, and you should be problem free.
Yeah, just kind of like upfront setting expectations and stuff. It's a good answer. And that's kind of what we try to do at QuikSell. I know that since like I guess we have like a diverse group of clients, and they're all kind of like running their businesses however they so choose. And yeah, they're like, as I'm sure they're always around the clock. And that was something that we kind of struggled with early on, was or I did at least, when the phone would just like ring all the time. Like at the
Yeah.
start, it was great because you're like, oh my God, like I'm gonna get so many clients, I'm gonna do this forever. And then it gets a little bit old after a while, like when you're hanging out with your friends. I remember like a year and a half ago, maybe, I was like at a party on a Friday night at like 10 p.m. and this guy, he called me, and I don't think I answered, and then he called me again. So when when somebody calls you twice, you're thinking, oh, that must be an emergency. But
Yep.
yeah. And so I answered the phone, and like he was talking about something that really wasn't a big deal. And I was also like, I was a little bit buzzed at the time too. So I was maybe a little bit annoyed at the time. But one
Understandable.
thing that we're kind of doing now is we're trying to get a group of like customer service people that are kind of like around the clock.
Right.
It's not in effect yet, but as we grow, that's something that we'll be doing so that people can be helped all the time.
Definitely. And one thing, like I'll just kind of add in there, and it obviously would have improved your situation too. But when you're meeting with your clients, ask them what the preferred method of communication is, because I'll say this up front. Like your generation, you're obviously more than a decade younger than I am. A lot of them don't know how to even take a phone call, so they'll primarily text. They'll get right back to you in a text message, but they will never answer a phone call or DM or anything else like that. So find out what the preferred method of communication is. And more often than not, what I'm finding these days, it is a text message or a DM. and the response rate is a lot higher on those as opposed to leaving a voicemail or trying a phone call. So find out what the preferred method of communication is. The reason I bring that up as well is because there's a lot of folks that are shift workers that can't take a phone call, but they can respond to a text. So you might be missing an entire conversation or an entire negotiation there just because you didn't try an alternative method of communication. So definitely something to establish upfront without question.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting because I almost would have like defaulted to the fact that realtors would prefer phone calls, just because like I know like when I talk to team leaders or brokers,
Mhm.
or even just like people in sales in general, they're like, the phone's the lifeline of your business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but these days the phone does everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised how many people don't answer their phone calls, but will immediately text back with "What's up?" It's like
Yeah.
shocking. It's shocking. Yeah. So yeah, I've just resorted to text communications because it seems to be the method for everybody. So, and then you've also got a documented conversation if things go sideways.
Right. Yeah. Well, we have this like phone program that we use. It's like a voice over IP, and that handles like the work calls and texts that come in. And actually, it's pretty cool. It's called Open Phone, and it
Gotcha.
actually gives you like AI call summaries. And like if
Nice.
I tell somebody I'm going to do something, like I tell them, yeah, we'll edit this photo or something. I get like an AI summary that says like a to do item that's like edit this photo for John or something like that. It's pretty cool,
Oh, nice.
and it records everything. So I know that most realtors probably use like their personal phones as like the phone they advertise, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess unless you start that early on, maybe that's not a reality for most agents. But anyways, what are you looking forward to most in 2024?
Ooh, just building up the brokerage, bringing on a couple new agents, developing some training programs, just watching the agents improve. That's my work goal. And then, yeah, just having a healthy and successful 2024. Watch the girls grow up, try and book some time off. But yeah, just improving in every aspect of life. That's really just it. So yeah, I want to see where I can take this thing, see how I can build it up, see how I can
Yeah.
improve all my agents, which in turn improves the brokerage.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's kind of what I'm excited for too, is just like growth in 2024. Drew and I went to a conference in Vegas in November, and it was like a bunch of real estate media people, and um, I definitely left there with a lot more clarity on like what to do, how to improve a lot of the systems that we have, and how to grow. So that's what I'm excited for in 2024. And I know a lot of people in real estate in like December and January, they kind of go into hibernation mode.
Oh yeah,
But I was just like, nah, let's just do a podcast. You know what I mean?
double down. Now's the time, man. Catch them while they're sleeping, right? So
Yeah.
no, I agree. And I've loved watching you guys grow and what you've done with QuikSell and everything else. And now you're branching out. So I'm excited for it, man. And you mentioned you haven't made it to BC yet. I think if you carry this thing out that way, you'll see great success. So
Yeah. And yeah, don't get me wrong. I love watching you guys grow too at, well, you yourself and at Remax Bridge City. So I guess to kind of conclude this, um, if someone's listening that's either thinking about becoming an agent, or they're currently an agent thinking about maybe going to Remax Bridge City, what would be your message to them?
call me. I'd love to sit down and chat. Yeah, I can be reached directly on my cell phone, 306-380-5376, or pop by anytime, Remax Bridge City.
Awesome. You heard it here first. Call James Bales to get your license at Remax Bridge City. Thanks so much for coming on.
Love it. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Take
Cheers.
care.